everybody, and good to talk to all of you again today. And today we are going to take a look at a preview video for this Tier 5 premium Soviet battleship, the October Revolution. And no, I am not trying that in Russian because that is too many letters and yeah, okay, no. Alright, not trying that in Russian. But this is the ship, it's the October Revolution. Although that actually happened in November, I think. Anyways, okay. So, what do I think about the ship? Well, if you were hoping that you were going to get something a little bit like the Nikolai, you're going to be disappointed. Not really like that. She does pack the sort of identical guns, but because she's Tier 5 and she runs into Tier 7s, they're just not going to be all that great. But more on that later. Let's talk about her advantages. In terms of survivability, her armor is actually quite good. If you take a look at it for Tier 5, key note for Tier 5. Nothing like the Germans, because the Germans are the Germans, but compared to something like the Congo or maybe like the New York, the October Revolution's armor is actually not that bad. Your main armor belt is 225mm thick. On your bow area, you have the forward plating of 19mm only on this upper chunk here. On the side here, you'll see that this is 125 and this is 75mm, and of course over here it's 125mm as well. So generally speaking, if you're angled like that, you're pretty well protected, and you're not likely to be eating too many damaging shots if you're angled. However, you will have to expose that broadside a little bit, and that has to kind of do with the guns. But again, more on that later. Aside from these outer sort of chunks of armor, if you look on the inside, there's additional goodies. One, if you notice, you do have a turtle back. Now, from the front, it looks like this turtle back doesn't really have much angle, but if you actually look at the back, that's a quite well-sloped turtle back. So in terms of protection, that chunk of turtle back, 38mm thick at that kind of angle, you're getting like 60-something millimeters. On top of that, closer to like maybe 90, and on top of that, you got the Citadel bulkhead. So, pretty good protection overall. And especially if you angle, your armor is going to hold up. Torpedo damage reduction is kind of weak at 13%. However, because of the ship's sort of unique damage control, you shouldn't worry too much about flooding, although torpedo damage is still going to hurt. Now, to the disappointing bit. Main guns. 305mm, 52 caliber, model 1907s. These are the identical guns that you'll find on the Nikolai, with one small change. You don't have the Nikolai Sigma value. So what are you going to get is you're still going to get really nice groupings of shells on occasion, but at a much more sort of infrequent level that you'll get with the Nikolai. Nikolai has 2.0 Sigma. This ship only has 1.8. And again, at Tier 4, this would have been alright, having slightly crappier dispersion. But this is Tier 5, which means you run into Tier 7s. And Tier 7 ships just kind of laugh at your 305mm guns. You just don't really do all that much to them. So, yeah, I mean, that combined with, the sort of relatively short fuse timers, the October Revolution, I think, was really good at dealing with maybe cruisers, and even then not so much because you have slow speed. I would say ideally dealing with like cruisers and lower tier battleships on small maps. I think that would be key. If you have a map that's small, she can kind of do her work. If you're dealing with really large maps, not at all, because on top of that, your main battery firing range of 16.8 is okay at best. When you're dealing with things like Nagato or Fuso, or ships are just more range than you, it's going to be a little bit on the painful side. Guns wise, Tier 5, the A is actually not horrible. You've actually got some decent damaging guns. These 37mm here, especially with this set, which is 120 DPS, 3.2 kilometer range, that you can buff and get a little bit more out of it. So A for Tier 5, it's okay, you're going to be able to knock down some planes, but again, mostly effective against Tier 4 and 5 carriers. Tier 6 and 7, less so. Maneuverability-wise, well, 23 knot maximum speed. Don't expect too much of it on a large map. It's gonna take you a while to get to the action. But on small maps like Big Race and things like that, you'll be totally fine. Turning circle radius of 630 meters is pretty good. And rudder shift time, 12.6 seconds. With, remember, because tier 5, no rudder shift module, 12.6, pretty darn good. Concealment is also good, 13.3. And if you get, I believe, Concealment Expert, you can drop that down a little bit more. So I would say, in terms of concealment, pretty darn good. Detectability range by air is fantastic, 9.8. You are going to be able to sneak up on people, let me say that right now. Now, aside from all that, the one other thing I forgot to mention about the guns is that, and this is why I said, like, if you angle, you're fine, but because of the way the guns are, you're not going to be angling all that much all the time, because in order to get all of your guns out, you do have to expose more of that broadside, and during those times, they are going to be able to hit you for penetration and potentially even citadel hits if they can get through that turtle back. So do keep that in mind that, you know, the guns, they might look like, you know, the fact that they're identical to Nikolai guns, but the placement of them does mean that the angles aren't all that great. You're unable to sort of do, you know, all three guns at a pretty good angle like the way the Nikolai does. This one, you do have to swing out a little bit more to get all of your firepower onto the target. The other thing that makes the October Revolution sort of special is a unique damage control party. So this damage control party has limited charges, so you've only got 5 charges, so 5 uses, and that's max. That's with premium and with superintendent. However, these ones are active for 15 seconds, and their reload time is only 19 seconds. So during very sort of intense fights, you're able to get off multiple damage controls, meaning that you should be able to minimize damage from fires and potentially even flooding, which is a very, very useful thing. However, this means that the October Revolution is actually really good in sort of like these intense fights, but not very good for like sort of drawn out battles where if you have to use your damage control a whole bunch of times over the course of a battle, this one probably isn't going to be enough for you. She also does come with a heal, which, you know, is pretty standard. In terms of upgrades, I would say get main battery armament 1, get aiming systems mod 1, although you could in theory try AA guns. Not a fan of it, but you could. And of course damage control system modification 1. Captain skills wise, pretty standard for a battleship. I would say priority target, or you could decide to get preventive maintenance. That's your choice. Go with adrenaline rush. Then you get superintendent if you're getting this October Revolution, because you're gonna need those extra charges. And because you want to minimize the times where you have to use it right away, fire prevention is probably going to be useful. And then with the remaining 3 points out of a 15-point captain, you could go with things like basics of survivability, or in my case, I just want to buff my AA more, get basic firing training. You could also save up another point, you know, get to 16 points and go concealment expert just to make yourself ultra stealthy, or you could get something like advanced firing training just to buff up that range some more for that AA guns, which like I mentioned is not actually all that bad. And that's pretty much all I can talk about for the October Revolution in port view, so let's take a look at how she performs in battle. And of course, keep in mind, the battle I'm showing you is obviously the ship when she is top tier, you know, on a small map, basically her ideal circumstance. So, you know, when you see this battle, just go, this is the best that, you know, sort of conditions that you're going to get with the ship. Everything else outside of that, you know, where you're bottom tier in large maps, you're going to not like the ship at all. That's kind of my take, actually, when I was on those battles. Just didn't enjoy it. Alright, let's take a look at the battle. Alright, so here is what I would probably deem the best type of battle for the October Revolution. Top tier, small map, and, well, you know, dealing with lower tier ships, in particular things like cruisers, which I think with the exclusion of maybe the French cruisers and their basically non-existent armor, other cruisers you should be able to blap. I mean, you have a lot of shells. They're of a smaller caliber, so that means that their detonator arms relatively quickly, and then they have a relatively short fuse timer. So you should be able to land good numbers of citadel hits as long as you're hitting armor that's thick enough for your shells to actually arm. So for me, on this particular map, at the beginning, I go north, and of course the enemy team also coming this way, at least some of their ships, in particular in Omaha over there. So yeah, not a hard decision on who to shoot first. Omaha is giving me a nice exposed shot there, and blap. Yeah, the October Revolution is fully capable of doing this to cruisers. Although, again, if you run into tier sevens, especially tier seven cruiser players who know what they're doing, you're not going to be as effective, shall we say. Now, I'd mentioned earlier the damage control, and it it's an interesting damage control party. Like, I mean, I should talk about it a bit more. I personally find that the damage control party does work reasonably well in very intense brawls. So, where you're, let's say, under fire from a bunch of ships, taking a lot of fire damage and things like that, probably effective to have, multiple damage controls that you can activate to. And, like I said, French cruisers with no armor, you do actually overpen. So, darn it. Had he given me a bit more of an angle, I probably would have killed him right there. Anyway, so again, I feel like that sort of damage control system, the good in very intense brawls, might be what's sort of designed more for like the lower tier Russian gameplay, maybe, or even like their slightly mid tier Russian gameplay where people like to, I guess, brawl more. And in that sense, it's effective. However, in games that you're kind of more drawn out, where you're kind of trying to stay alive for a longer period of time in order to get more damage, you do run out of charges very quickly. In one battle, I mean, against I think it was only like two cruisers and a destroyer, in a relatively short period of time, I burned through like three charges, and then it was just like, oh crap, I don't have much left. So, had to play the rest of the battle a little bit more passively, shall we say? In those last couple of occasions, also sort of showing you one of the other weaknesses with this particular ship, you do have to expose a little bit more of that broadside in order to get all four turrets out. Three turret angles are not awful, but you want to get all of that firepower. You're really gonna have to show a little bit more broadside than I'm comfortable with. Also, because of the way the turret is sort of placed, with the Nikolai, for example, three turrets sort of all face forwards. Here you've got one forward, one back, one forward, one back. So when you are like turning and you want to get all the turrets around, only two turrets sort of go one way, the other two have to go the other way, and it does kind of limit you sometimes. It's not like the Nikolai where you can go from one side to another and bring essentially 75% of your firepower along with you. Alright, so, but like I did mention, especially for the lower tier battles, you are going to be effective at killing cruisers, in which case I killed both of them, including that French one with the non-existent armor. So, you are reasonably effective in that role. Again, also, like I said earlier, if you run into like tier 7s and things like that, where the cruisers are faster, tier 6 cruisers as well, they're faster, with better armor, you're going to probably struggle a little bit more. Against lower tier battleships, your guns are pretty good. They're basically like Nikolai guns. You're gonna be able to get good salvos like that, 10,000 plus damage salvos. However, facing off against tier 7s with their armor, and you just feel totally impotent. Your guns just, you tickle them, right? I mean, I think in one of my earlier games I ran into a gunnery now, and it was just like, nope, nothing really works, and it's just the challenges, I think, when you have to play this particular ship. She's just not all that great when you bring her out into a higher tier battle. In tier 6 battles, she's alright, I would say, and that's probably the best answer I can probably provide. Tier 6, I think you're alright, but you do see tier 7s, and I feel like this kind of ship maybe would do better in like with some kind of preferential matchmaking, perhaps, as long as she stays in her current state. Maybe just a little bit of that preferential matchmaking would help. Just limit her to tiers 4 to 6, maybe, something like that, like only one tier. But yeah, anyways, one other thing is that I wonder if this is going to be like a Russian battleship thing, this sort of like limited consumable. I mean, like, because you have like all these different nations with their own unique flavors, right? Like aka Warspite with her sort of short but sort of cruiser recharge rate damage control. I wonder if this is going to be like a Russian thing. They're going to be great at the whole brawling, get up close and just brawl away, and then have that very instantaneous sort of damage control that's almost always up. Maybe that's gonna be their flavor. Who knows? This maybe it's something they're testing. I don't know. Maybe in the future, all battleships might have this kind of thing, which could be interesting because that might add another kind of um, gameplay element to balancing. I don't know. An interesting sort of idea. And here you go. The turrets, they don't turn very quickly, so especially when you have to get them to turn in sort of the reverse direction all the way around, it's painful. Like, it is painful. These turrets are not fast. I mean, I even have expert marksman, and you can tell it just takes them a very, very, very long time to get those guns all the way around. Now, speaking about AA, like I said, her AA is actually decent. I mean, I've shot down 6 planes so far, but even against like tier 6 CVs, I mean, I've been able to shoot down like 10, 12 aircraft in a battle, but of course that was more spec'd a little bit more for AA. But her AA does do damage, although they are very exposed. They're all sort of out in the open, and you do kind of lose quite a bit of them if people are spamming you full of HE. Anyhow, I mean, this battle is just pretty much wrapping up now. Just go in there, shoot up the remaining 2 carriers, kill off their last battleship and destroyer, and the game is pretty much game, set, match. That Bogue, I don't know why, just going backwards. And speaking of the Bogue, there will be 2 Bogue videos coming out, actually. Some of the patrons voted for it, so you guys are gonna get a Bogue review. Somebody's making me play that ship, for goodness sakes. And there's probably going to be like a know your ship on the Bogue as well. Oh, the other thing I sort of forgot to talk about is that there is that behind the scenes HMCS Haida video. Unfortunately, I've run into some sort of Parks Canada image legal thing. So yeah, still no go. That video, they've looked at it, they've reviewed it, and they are apparently not happy with it, even though I'm not really seeing what's wrong with it. I don't know. So just currently sitting back, waiting for things, and hopefully, have that video out someday, in the not too distant future, and you guys can pick up some interesting things about how one of those Naval Legends episodes are made. Aside from that, I guess the only other thing I should just fill you in on, because again, not too much is happening in the battle right now. I do apologize for the fact that I haven't actually released a video for quite a while. This is the first one I think I'm releasing in a good number of days. I do apologize for that. Real life has just been absolutely kicking my butt lately. Just pretty much I've been out morning till night on multiple days now, trying to get errands done, trying to finish things, and it's been one hell of a week. But hopefully things are going to settle down. The student that I tutor, apparently summer vacation's happening, and he doesn't really want to have me around all that much, which is perfectly understandable. He wants to have his vacation, which should open up another day for me, so maybe that's gonna allow me to pump out some more videos. But don't worry, there's gonna be more stuff coming. Probably the next couple days it's gonna be relatively high intensity. You guys are probably gonna get a whole bunch of videos in the next little while. But again, priority is always going to be on quality over quantity. Make the best videos possible, and the rest of it should take care of itself, in theory. Alright, so took out that Minakaze, and it means only the Congo is left. And of course, I'm just gonna kind of hold my shot. I'm gonna wait for this Congo to at least give me a better shot, maybe a broadside of some kind. Right now, just not a good shot. It's like against bow-in battleships, your guns are just not enough. 305mm guns are just not enough. However, if you get broadsides at a reasonably close range, you are going to be able to smack them with the October Revolution. Like I said, her dispersion actually isn't terrible, like her dispersion circle. So as you can see, nice lump of shells. Very, very sort of Nikolai-ish, although not as tight. Nikolai shells are just ridiculous, and that's kind of the reason why that ship is never going to get sold. Anyhow, Congo eats a 19k salvo from me. I go 134k damage. Congo's going to eat a few more torpedoes and is going to get sunk. So let's take a look at final results screen. 134,691 damage, 380,000 credits earned, 4,541 experience, 76 hits, 6 planes shot down, yay, 4 ships destroyed, 1 short a Kraken, darn it. Had I killed that Congo, that would have been a Kraken. Maybe I should have waited for like a torpedo here or something, I don't know. 3 Citadel hits from that early Omaha Blap. In terms of base experience, 1,636, so easily top of the team. No questions about that there. Next up, let's take a look at credits earned. So with premium account, 316,000 net. Without it, 189,998. Anyways, folks, hope you enjoyed this preview of the October Revolution. Let me know what you think about the ship in the comment section below. Aside from all that, take care, have a good one, and I'll talk to all of you again soon.